One of the first things I would recommend doing if you start playing upside down guitar is to mark your guitar. And what I mean by that is to mark the frets of the guitar. So for instance, I started playing on a classical guitar, like this one, and there are no markings here to see where the 3rd, the 5th, or the 7th fret are. If you play on an electric guitar, you can see it's marked. However, while you're playing, you might not be looking at that. But if you look at the other side for a right-handed player, they look down and the side of the fretboard, or of the neck, is marked. There are these little markings there, which is very convenient. So a lot of guitars have them at the 3rd, 5th, 7th, 9th, and 12th frets. To me, the essential ones are at the 5th, the 7th, and the 9th, perhaps. On a classical guitar, because there are only 12 frets before you hit the body, you can sort of see where the 9th is, but it makes it a lot more clear. I remember starting to learn, and you see chords and they say at the 7th fret, and I would think, 1, 2, 3, I'd have to count, and it was very difficult. And then with my guitar and a few guitars I played on, they happen to have nicks at the 5th fret, which is very convenient. But at some point while playing, I realized I would have to, I would be better off marking the frets. So there are different ways to do that. We'll start off with some more temporary solutions. So like with the black fretboard that you have on a classical guitar, and those are probably white markings on this side, but to emulate that, if you want, you could just use a sort of metallic marker, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just making sure I'm not doing this wrong. Just do a little circle there, and another one at the 7th, and if you want at the 9th. So I rushed that a little, but that looks okay. If you let it dry, I found with this metallic marker, it stays on reasonably well, though it's not a permanent solution, and it will go smearing up your hand and the instrument, but it'll do the job for at least a little while. Another solution is to use something like tape. I found electrical tape works pretty well. I have 2 little strips here, which I could just stick on at the 5th and the 7th fret. And they're on there like that. Now with time, these will move around, but they tend to be pretty stable. And I prefer to use a tape that I don't feel very much. This you can feel. I'd recommend not using duct tape because it leaves a residue. Maybe it would stick on more permanently, but it leaves some pretty unpleasant stuff behind, in my experience. So that's a solution. I like to make them longer. That I find that keeps them more in place. If they're just round little dots, they tend to fall off and move around quicker. A similar solution is using stickers, or the remains of stickers from toy sets. So I kind of obsessively keep these pages of stickers from my daughter's old toys, and you can cut out bits, and some look pretty good, like this one, this metallic one looks pretty good. And so this guitar is marked with these, and I think that looks pretty cool. And again, they haven't moved around. So that's one possible solution. Now we'll look at one other solution with paint. So I was going to try to paint some markings on this guitar, but it turns out I don't have any good paint for that. So I'll just show you how you could do it. This is a toothpick cut in half, so that would be more circular. You could dip it in paint and just do a dot where appropriate. If you prefer, you could use some masking tape to make sure you don't mess up, and just set out a triangle or something. And if you're painting, what I would recommend is using some sort of enamel paint. This particular enamel paint is for gates and fences outside, and I can feel that it's a rough surface, so I don't want to put that on my guitar. The good thing about enamel paint is it's very permanent, and some are very smooth, so it would you know, not be unpleasant to have on the guitar. Which brings me back to the point with duct tape. Duct tape has a maybe a rougher feel than other things. And so yeah, even though I'm not going to paint now, that would be an option. And I think this is a very important thing because it's easy for a left-hander just to get confused up the fretboard, and marking the guitar is one way to avoid that and to be just like all the other guitarists out there. So let's see how those markings on the classical guitar are doing. They're there. Let's see, do they rub off with a bit of friction from playing? Maybe a little. I like this one because it looks good. It's not the most permanent solution, as I said. A bit better would be permanent markers like a Sharpie or any sort of other permanent office marker. They're not permanent. They will rub off on your hand and on the neck of the guitar. So that can be a little messy if it's a guitar that you don't want to mess up. But it is a solution and a practical way to get started. So that's my recommendation for you, and I hope it helps. See ya.